Welcome to FOB TV, the future of business. I'm your host, Kevin Benedict. I'm a futurist here at TCS, and I'm going to thank all of you guys for listening in and joining the program today. I think you're going to find this a fascinating discussion. Our guest today is Jasen Williams. Jasen Williams is the Global VP of Corporate Marketing at Verint. Jasen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, I'm calling in here. I'm recording this from smoky Boise, Idaho. I think every direction on the compass, there are forest fires. Matter of fact, this weekend, my wife and I were going to a place called Grand Jean and hiking south along the North Fork of the Boise River. But Monday, there's a big fire and they've locked down the whole thing. So, boy, every direction we try to go this season, we've got forest fires. Anyway, enough of that. Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Atlanta, where it's as hot as normal, but and I think another storm is starting now. Every single day for the past week and a half, we've had a thunderstorm. So our water that would put out your fire is unfortunately here and not there.
That's right, because we've been having numerous weeks now in a row of 100-degree plus weather. And if any of you know Idaho, it's dry, kind of some of it. It's just dry and hot this time of year. And so fires are always something we have to be concerned about. Anyway, for those that aren't familiar with Verint, why don't you give us a little bit of a background and the fun stuff you guys are doing there, Jasen?
Sure. Verint is a CX automation company. And if you say, well, hey, what is CX automation? It's the simultaneous act of improving a customer experience and reducing costs. In my 25 plus year career, what I have seen and what has been very common in the industry is when companies wanted to improve CX, they saw headcount and costs explode. And then they swung the pendulum back. And when they needed to lower costs, they did it at the expense of headcount, usually in customer service, and they saw the customer service tank as predictable. We're not in that model anymore. We've long since passed sort of that tipping point where you can just throw bodies at the problem, all these new interactions and all these new channels and new ways of customers interacting with you, consumers interacting with you. You've got to be able to get some kind of AI to augment the people so that you can handle all the work. And you can't just do it at the expense of staying stagnant. There's so much innovation in the customer experience, and we saw all of it explode post-COVID, that things that were deemed impossible even 18 months ago are now standard. So your pressure as someone in the contact center or in building out digital experiences for your website, is all the same. It's like, how do I simultaneously do both these things? And what Verint's doing is we're leveraging AI to make that impossible possible, to simultaneously improve CX and lower costs for the contact center, for your web experiences, for your in-person locations, et cetera. It's been a really exciting year as AI went to a whole other level, I guess, 18 months ago globally.
Wow, I'm going to look forward to digging deeper into that. Before we do that, though, Jasen, let's talk about you a little bit. So you have over 20 years of experience bringing products and services to market. You must have seen a few changes during that time. Talk to us about, in more detail even, what have you seen change here in the last 5 years?
The biggest difference, I guess you'd say,
yeah,
and it's been evolving over a longer timeline than that, last 15 years, was the moving forward, the buying process that didn't involve your seller. The whole idea of whatever the percentage is now, 50 to 60% of the decisions made before anybody ever engages with a brand, navigating that, navigating both, hey, I've got different kinds of thought leadership. I've got to get in front of people differently. I've got to nurture prospects along differently. All of that's changed. And then but that's kind of a bit of ramp where people are getting used to it as they go. The bigger thing is now trying to use all the digital signals that are available to understand who's shopping for what you're selling before they tell you. And that's been a big change in the way you tell stories and the way you engage people, the way you enable sellers into what do they need to know. I think a lot of that is evolving. Every day becomes less and less about the product, and every day becomes more about the outcome. Like, what is going to happen after I buy whatever it is you're selling? And that's everything now. Everything has evolved into outcome-based selling. We've been headed that way for years with solution selling, or I'm not going to focus on my products. I'm going to focus on the problem and the challenge. But at the end of the day, people are buying outcomes.
Interesting. So you also describe yourself on LinkedIn as leading an elite team of storytellers. Now, I want to focus in on storytelling. So how has storytelling itself changed over the past 5-10 years? And how do you anticipate AI impacting that going forward?
Sure. Two parts. One, I think, is there's been 15 years, a gradual trend towards more and more discovery before engaging with a seller by the buyer. 50 to 60% of the decisions already made before you ever even find out the customer was in market. That changed the way people did thought leadership, the way you nurture, the way you engage. Kind of the breakthrough on addressing that is the increase in intent marketing, so that you can see, oh, look, based on all these digital breadcrumbs that are out there, I can see that this brand, and this brand is in market for exactly what I'm selling. So I can change the way pursuit, I can push out the amount of time. All of that's been evolving over the last couple of years. The change, though, those are all like infrastructural change, just dealing with the reality of different buying. The change that's in market right now is the move to outcomes. We've moved way past solution selling. We're straight into, I think now, and way past even a conversation about ROI. It's like, how does something dramatically impact the outcome of the way I do business, the way you do business? Like that, those are the questions that people are asking us. And those are the questions that our sellers and our marketing and teams need to be able to answer.
So help me understand, what do you mean by outcome? Outcome for who?
For the buyer, ultimately. So for us, the brand, but it's the changing lots of times the way that consumer experiences the brand. But so for us right now, it's AI outcomes, and AI outcomes now, tangible, specific benefits. So how does our TimeFlex bot improve your attrition in your contact center? That's a very specific, tangible question, and that can specifically be answered, right? How does the wrap-up bot specifically change the length of time on a call for an agent? How does our virtual assistant change containment and change the way that calls are transferred with dramatically more context to shorten the entire experience? Like, these are things that translate into a specific thing happened that you can understand and measure. This isn't like AI to feed the world or AI to stop crime or create a smarter planet or all these big aspirational amorphous concepts. These are specific things that need to happen. And this is what you buy that makes that happen. It's a totally different conversation when everything that you're having a conversation with rolls back into, and then this happened. This is the outcome, and this is how you can expect it. Because we want people to be able to do, in terms of storytelling, we're trying to paint a high resolution picture of what success looks like. If we paint that higher resolution picture of success, you can visualize yourself having that success, and then buying is much easier.
So were you guys, Jasen, already doing this before generative AI came out? Or did generative AI somehow support your ambitions in that direction?
I think that we were already headed towards outcome and outcome-based marketing and outcome selling. But with AI, one of the things that happens is the complexity of explaining how the AI works, the LLMs. And so you get this big ocean of hype. And like, the only way to navigate something that's incredibly technical and something that's full of market noise and hype. The only way to cut through that quickly is but with outcome-based conversations. So for us, it's all about AI outcomes now. Wow. How do we get you there? And what are your key pain points that we can address?
So when you look at kind of how you guys internally are using AI and maybe even in your products, where are you seeing AI bubble up? Where's it being used?
Across the portfolio. So like our top use cases in CX automation is addressing the contact center, enhancing the web mobile experience, addressing, the contact center, not the contact center, the customer service experience in your branch, in your physical locations, your retail locations, et cetera. But in the contact center, we're seeing customers do things like, hey, I would like to experiment with a wrap-up bot. There's a time at the end of a phone call where an agent has to log off, recap the conversation manually, and upload it into the CRM.
Yep.
AI and generative AI combined with generative AI, you can summarize that entire conversation in 2 paragraphs and automatically populate it into the CRM, right? That is something that's so powerful. We're seeing use cases like brands starting with 300 agents and transitioning into thousands or tens of thousands of agents going live with it in 30, 60 days. What we're seeing is another use case example of our TimeFlex bot. It gives the ability for AI to look at the entire schedule in the contact center and then assign a value to every bit of that, every one of those 15-minute increments. And when an employee in the past, they would need to go take their kids to the doctor, have a hot date, like whatever their conflict is outside of their work hours. They were trying to request time off or know they weren't going to get time off when they requested it, not bother and just show up sick. Now we're seeing those requests being managed through AI, and you're seeing companies that we're seeing 1 shift change request a month going to 5 a day, where people are just like completely changing the way they're working in the contact center. So we're seeing that's been growing rapidly, and also just generally applying AI to the digital experience to dramatically improve containment rates so that the consumer solves their own problem themselves, gets the answers they're looking for faster themselves.
Yeah. So do you guys have, if you would, a virtual agent or a virtual assistant that's listening in on the calls that can help along the human agent by giving them a direction or giving them some high percentage solutions for that problem? How does that work?
So what Verint has is a team of specialized bots. And each bot does one thing really well. So we have our intelligent virtual assistant. It focuses on containment.
What do you mean by containment, Jason?
The ability for the bot to completely and comprehensively answer your question rather than have you call an agent or give up and go shop from somebody else. That's containment. Did I completely lock in on what you were looking for and deliver your answer so that you stay engaged with me long term?
Yeah. Okay.
We also have coaching bots that are so real time. You're having a conversation as a contact center agent, and the coaching bot is listening in on the conversation and noticing opportunities for upsell, reminders, the compliance reminders. It's reminding you to do things which don't overtalk, show empathy. Hey, this is one of our top customers. They've said they're frustrated. Make them the retention offer now. That's which is probably my favorite. The coaching bots, quality bots, summary bots, all kinds of different bots that are helping either the agent be driving agent capacity, improving the agent experience, improving CX, a lot of self-service oriented capabilities that are reducing that cost to serve or improving the ability for the consumer to find what they're looking for, all those kinds of mini bots.
This is fancy and fascinating to me at the same time, because this is practical stuff. Because I'm a futurist. We're talking big picture, kind of umbrella concepts, the mega trends and the trends and all. You're talking feet on the street impact. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, the least sexy word I think a marketer can have is pragmatic or tangible. And yet that is exactly what we're selling in AI. We're trying to differentiate, and we're successfully differentiating art of the possible stuff that's been out for a while, in some cases a decade. And all the pushback to all of that was saying, hey, you want to do this? This is what it'll look like. And this is somebody that already did it. Let's go.
So you're solving and filling in all these cracks in the system and making and bringing in automation and intelligence at all these different levels, which is just really good stuff here. But what are the big challenges that are still left out there, Jasen, that, you know, they're still the problem areas that need to be fixed?
Generally, if you step back to the beginning, you know, the first question you ask is, what does Verint do? And it's about CX automation, the idea of simultaneously improving CX and lowering costs.
Yeah.
You're chipping away at this problem constantly. So what we'll see is, it depends on like what a brand's priorities are. Usually the idea you'll see most frequently manifested is this idea of agent capacity. You shorten the conversation by, let's say, 20% across thousands of agents. So that's a 20% improvement in agent capacity. Now it's up to the brand to decide what they want to do with it. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of brands, they're saying, okay, some brands are saying, I'm going to return that savings to the business. Okay. But more, you're seeing things like, oh, I can now shift. I have enough money to shift to from 8 or 16-hour coverage to 24-hour coverage. You're seeing brands that are saying, I can now invest in upsell and turning an agent from simply customer service related questions to, I can train them, can enable them, I can empower, coach them to sell and deliver upsell, cross sell. So we're seeing like, how do you fix it? Okay, well, here's tools to augment someone's experience, put answers at their fingertip, and make the job better, not easier, better. You know, like those are all the kinds of things that are being addressed, but people are solving them kind of one or two things that are use cases at a time, mm-hmm. and saying, oh, that actually worked, and it worked in 60, 90 days. Let's go to the next thing. Let's go.
Oh, wow. So a lot of what we're talking about, it seems this is augmenting a human who's managing the interaction with another human. What are you guys seeing and doing that's automating the interaction between a human and a bot? Like instead of having a human sitting in the chair, you have an automated response through a virtual customer experience or a customer service agent. Do you guys get involved in that? And where is that? Where is that in the kind of maturity curve?
Yeah, so like for us, you see a lot of that in healthcare, in insurance, travel and hospitality, quite a bit, where people are saying, okay, like in a travel example,
yeah,
you're seeing the bot take on all the work related to questions about pets, pools, kids, breakfast,
yeah,
and checkout. And then the agents are focused on, well, do you want to stay in Curacao or do you want to stay in Aruba? In the example of the pharmaceuticals and healthcare, the AI has to be sharp enough, accurate enough to understand your jargon. It doesn't do any. You can't get anything going if your chatbot doesn't understand what the drug you're talking about is when you type it or when you say it over a voice virtual assistant, not just digital. Yeah. So we're investing heavily in that, and we're seeing, like, we work with a large travel company, and 95% of the conversations are resolved for online bookings, completely automated.
I love it.
And escalate to an agent. We're seeing healthcare companies in particular going online at scale and bringing on just the ability to solve it. Because what happens, this is funny, this is interesting to me. People are asked a bot a different question than they'll ask a person. There's a comfort level of not asking any human a question about the side effects of drugs.
Yeah. Interesting.
When the U.S. Army was one of our early adopters of a bot of our virtual assistant, people would ask questions about the bathroom setup.
Yeah.
A shower setup, all these kinds of things they didn't want to ask a physical recruiter that was sitting in front of them. There's a lot of questions that now that we're seeing that people are asking because it's not personal. There's some of that, particularly in pharmaceutical and healthcare, that's interesting. But beyond that, it's It's just investment in being able to answer a broader array of questions more rapidly.
Wow.
And that's the intelligence and the data set, which are differentiators for us.
Great. Let me have you put on your futurist hat, Jasen. And let's look out there 5 to 10 years and say, how do we think customer experience and this industry will look different 5 or 10 years from now?
The intelligence in the bots is obviously growing. Everybody can see that. We're navigating now issues like the world is hallucinations in AI and misunderstandings and overconfident AIs, navigating all that. I think that's evolves and sorts itself out if the AI is running on great data. So what we're seeing is an increasing, so like this is more of a short term than 5 years. This year and probably into the next, more and more questions about what's the data that's powering this AI. And a lot of questions around exploring that area. And that's something that our marketing is a significant differentiator.
Yeah.
I think the other pieces of it, you can coach the AI, particularly when it's used to augment a human.
Yeah.
Around, you can coach to a standard of empathy. Like you're over talking, hey, you're interrupting. Now's the time to make the offer. This is their sentiment they're currently expressing. So pivot your language and have the digital experiences reflect that more and more. What happens as all of this matures, I believe you'll see AI is always going to be focused on how do I make your best agent, all your agents, and how to make your best agent experience the virtual experience. It just becomes a continuing raising of the bar as the data set and the intelligence of the AI gets better. It's just generally solving more and more problems.
Well, I'm all for that. Better customer service, better user experience all around. Sounds good to me. What are the obstacles that we have to kind of jump over to get there, Jasen?
Sure. I think for a lot of brands, it's the data or having AI embedded in the workflow. There are a lot of brands that are experimenting with AI, and what they're seeing is the business application is here, and then you've got an AI vendor over here trying to make the experience better for whoever, for the agent, the consumer, the whatever the employee is, right, or the consumer, because those are different experiences, and this over here AI is not working off the same data set. Never going to get there. I think a lot of people are navigating huge questions around, wait a second, I'm never going to get the AI I want because my AI is not constantly training and learning on my data. It's not in the gym. The bots aren't in the gym getting stronger.
Yeah.
That's something where for Verint, data is a major differentiator. And our bots are training on your data to constantly grow, become more intelligent and get more sophisticated in navigating your jargon and your unique requirements. Lots of questions right now around data. The other one is, how does this fit with everything else?
Mm-hmm.
How does new AI investments fit into my ecosystem? One of the things that there's a lot of backlash on the market, particularly in our space, and you'll see in the contact center, is this realization that to get to real, more groundbreaking AI and generative AI capabilities, a lot of vendors are positioned where you're going to need to upgrade to our latest and greatest capabilities, which is a nice way of saying you're going to need to rip and replace everything you've got and start over. And, that, by the way, is going to take 6, 12, 18, 24 months. And by then, the world of AI is going to change a lot. So you're in, when people are pulling at this and saying, how does this new stuff interact with my existing ecosystem? That's a pretty significant obstacle. We address that through openness. And whether you're on-prem, you're in the cloud, whatever, we have a path to achieve AI outcomes now. You can be up with leveraging AI in 60, 90 days, depending on the bot. So it's the data and how it fits with everything else are the most immediate problems. And those problems aren't going to go away over the next year. That every brand is having to navigate, and every CIO is spending time thinking about how does this all going to fit together and not creating more problems.
Jasen, I want to thank you so much for sharing your insight from the real world, from the front lines of customer experience. Love it. Again, so many of us are reading kind of at a high level about AI to see real world examples with the outcomes that people are looking for that have measurable outcomes. That's fascinating. Thanks for sharing today, Jasen.
Hey, thanks for making time for me.